Okay, we're going to work E5-1. This is E5-1. Okay, this one says at most movie theaters, one employee sells tickets and another employee collects them. One night when you're at the movies, your friend comments that it is a waste of the theater's money to have one employee sell the tickets and another collect them. Let's go ahead and split up this and this. Okay. It says, identify the name of the control principle to which the situations relate. Well, in a situation like this, we have several that could be a potential option. And whenever you're confronted with a situation like that, you want to pick the one that best represents what it is that we're trying to get at. So the first one is restrict access. Well, obviously, some of that's in play in the sense that you can't get into the movie theater without having a ticket. So in other words, you're restricted. But is that the best one that's being represented? It seems like the question is trying to get at this contrast between what one employee does and what another employee does. Okay, so let's go to the next one. The next one is segregate duties. Segregate duties says that we're going to have related responsibilities separated. And the idea is that by separating them, we're establishing a control that doesn't allow one person to do two duties that essentially could cover up a fraud. This one looks to be a good choice because we have two related responsibilities here, but let's just go ahead and go through all of them. So I'm going to hold on to that one and we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, the next one says document procedures. Document procedures is where we record the procedures that are being done. For instance, if we gave a receipt along with the sale of the ticket. So that one probably doesn't apply as much here, so we'll move on to the next one. The next one is independently verify. Independent verification is where someone outside or another document is used outside of the process and consideration to verify something that's going on. In this case, that one probably doesn't apply as well. You may be able to make an argument that says, well, the ticket verifies that I paid for actual admission into the movie theater. But again, we're sort of getting away from what the question is asking. So we'll move towards the last one, which is established responsibility. And established responsibility says that one person is responsible for this thing, whatever the thing is under consideration. And it's probably that one, along with restricting access, along with segregation of duties, that you may be able to make an argument for this question. However, the best one that we're probably looking at for this question is going to be the segregation of duties. And the reason why is what the question is getting at is this idea that what would happen? Why is it beneficial for the movie theater to have one employee do something here, for instance, sell the ticket, another employee collect the ticket? Why couldn't the same person do that thing? In other words, why do those duties have to be segregated? That is the real question here. Because if they don't, then your friend is right. It's a waste of money. But go on to the next part of the question. It says, explain to your friend what kind of fraud could occur if one person did the same job. In other words, it's illuminating that the point of this question is that those related duties must be segregated. Because here's the deal. If someone walks in, and says, hey, I'm here to see a movie, and the person that is there selling the ticket, as well as the person who's collecting the ticket, is the same person, and it just so happens that they're like, hey, I know you. You're my best friend. The potential exists for the sale not being recorded, right? So what can happen is that the person could say, hey, instead of giving me the money, because what would happen is you'd give me the money, I'd give you a ticket, and you just give the ticket right back to me. If I wanted in that instance, and I was the person selling and collecting the ticket, I could simply just say, hey, don't worry about giving me the money. I won't worry about giving you a ticket, and I just let you right in. The control that happens is when we have the other person here that says, hey, wait, no admission without the ticket, right? And so if I did not collect the money here and give you the ticket, you could not get past this third person without a ticket in hand. And that segregation of duties is what would stop a fraud. If it's one person here doing the related responsibilities, they decide whether or not to collect the money and then ultimately collect the ticket back. And if they have both of those related responsibilities, the opportunity exists for a fraud to occur. And remember, that is part of the fraud triangle. We have our opportunities, we have our rationalization, and we have our incentives. So these three characteristics will heighten the circumstance for fraud. And so what we're trying to avoid with internal control principles is that opportunity to exist. And that's why the goal of this question, or really the point it's trying to get at, is this idea of separating related responsibilities so that that opportunity does not exist.